All right, well, welcome and thank you everyone for joining us today for the annual Health and Wellness Expo hosted by Campus Recreation. We're really thankful for our presenters today for sharing their experiences and expertise with us. Everyone who attends the session will be entered to win either a free t-shirt or water bottle. The more sessions you attend, the greater your chances are, and we will email you if you're a winner. Just a couple of items before we get started and I introduce our presenters. This session is being recorded and you'll be able to refer back to it on our website. And then please keep yourself muted during the presentation unless directed otherwise. We encourage you to use the chat for any questions or comments. So now I'd like to introduce John Woodruff and Ava Rybicki, I think that's correct. John Woodruff currently serves as the Director of Academic Success and Disability Resources at Rowan University. He's able to assist students in their many individualized needs to set them up for success as students at Rowan. Ava Rybicki is a resident director for residential learning and university housing. She is currently pursuing her Master's of Wellness and Lifestyle Management, as well as a graduate certificate in wellness coaching. She plans to use these skills to attend medical school in the near future. I will let y'all get started.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you everyone for being here with us today. I'm really glad and excited. We're going to be talking to you guys about how to be successful as a residential student, and we're going to get into the specifics of navigating being a residential student as somebody who is neurodivergent or may have unique needs that can pose different challenges when navigating campus life and residential life. So, specifically, a lot of neurodivergent students on our campus are on the autism spectrum. We have over 100 students on the autism spectrum who are registered with Disability Resources. And some common accommodations that they may need include those in the classroom, such as extended time on tests, or just different ways that they need assistance in communicating with their professor so that the professor can understand their needs better and make them successful in the classroom. Also within housing, there's many different accommodations dependent on what their needs are. So it could be an individual bedroom or a specific need with a bathroom or a kitchen. Really depends on that individual, but housing is able to accommodate them the best way that they can each time. There can also be meal plan needs. There's a dietitian on campus who can meet with students and help them figure out options in the dining halls that work for their specific dietary restrictions. And also emotional support animals. So an emotional support animal differs from a service animal where a student can have an emotional support animal in their residential space on campus, but that animal can't go into academic buildings or other common buildings such as the student center, but is really there to support the student in their living space. Some challenges that we see students facing when they move to residential life or just in general can be navigating different and new social situations and picking up on the social cues of others. Sometimes that can pose a great challenge. Also, understanding and respecting the personal boundaries of others. And that often goes back to picking up on social cues, as well as struggling with abstract thinking. And the definition of neurodiversity is an understanding and acceptance that diverse neurological conditions are the result of normal and naturally occurring variations in cognition, learning, behavior, and socialization that exists within the population. And so this is really how we see it on our campus and how we like to approach these situations.
Hey, thank you, Ava. So we do realize that neurodiversity might be a new term for some students, faculty, and staff, but there is a neurodiversity task force. There are plans for a Center for Neurodiversity in the expanded Students Center too. So stay tuned. There are more resources for students, faculty, and staff that consider themselves neurodiverse. Over 40% of the students registered with our office, Disability Resources, do fall into the category of neurodivergence. So it can be autism spectrum, as Ava mentioned, but also individuals with auditory processing, learning disability, dyslexia, ADHD, a student with a seizure disorder. So it pretty much runs the gamut. We meet students where they are, and you should know that any student that's registered with our office that requests classroom housing accommodations, temporary accommodations, we keep that confidential so the faculty would not know what the student's disability is, medical condition. Housing wouldn't know. They would just know that the student's eligible for the accommodations, and we're an office that partners with faculty, with housing, with other departments on campus too. The Student Center, the Rec Center, if a student with a disability needs accommodations helps, we often offer to help attend those meetings and schedule those meetings. Some students registered with us, let's say a student with depression, anxiety, PTSD, they might request an emotional support animal in the residential halls and also have accommodations in the classroom. We will delve into more campus resources later on in the presentation, but many individuals that are neurodivergent have challenges with executive functioning and time management. And we all know that the transition from high school to college is a wake-up call for many college students because they're transitioning from a school day that's maybe 8 to 2:30 to a college school day, school week, where they might have one class on a Monday and then like no class until Tuesday afternoon. So it's a real wake-up call if a student doesn't get a handle on a system that works for them for managing their time, staying on track, using a calendar, utilizing resources. Next slide, please. So 2/3 of the 2,300 plus students registered with us have hidden disability. So like in addition to neurodivergent students, that can be like an individual with a chronic medical condition, Crohn's disease, diabetes, POTS. There's more and more students coming to campus with POTS. That's an autoimmune disease where the student can just pass out if the blood going through the brain. And again, like there's lots of things, but we've got, I think, 15 students who have POTS where we've helped them meet other students to start their own support group. We help students start a college diabetes network here on campus too. So part of this presentation, we don't want to miss the opportunity to promote the connectedness that we know that all college students benefit from if they are engaged once they transition to campus. We do know that some students with disabilities, it's more challenging for them to make connections. So sometimes the RA, the RD, our office, we might like nudge them and help them make those connections. So similar to like neurodivergent students on the spectrum, the accommodations are pretty much the same. The standard rule that a disability resources office on a college campus would follow for a student that had accommodations in the classroom in a high school is to kind of mirror what accommodations they had in high school. And so that would be put on their accommodation letter, like extended time on test, missed class on occasion. If the student has Crohn's disease or migraines, their accommodation also might include reschedule exams on occasion. Next slide, please. So I started to discuss resources. So like one of the things that we found beneficial for new students and their parents too is a summer bridge program that we have other schools also have them too. Our program provides students an opportunity to jumpstart their transition to college in the fall, where they can actually move on campus 1 week early and connect with key resources like housing, like testing, tutoring, the writing center, counseling, the student activities, the rec center, where we often have representatives from those departments come in to talk with the new students to let them know about the resources. And again, like there's a lot of repetition, meaning that the student may have been exposed or to those resources in an orientation or a presentation by that department. But I think for a student transitioning to college, whether it's a freshman or a student that transfers from another institution, that the repetition is good because it's overwhelming with the transition to college, with the onboarding. There is a small cost for the college campus program, and the only reason for that is because the students move on campus 1 week early, and their meal plans do not kick in yet. We also help to hire peer mentors that are students that went through the college campus program the year before, maybe the year before that, who are neurodivergent or registered with the office. And for many of those individuals that are peer mentors, it's their first paid work experience. So it's nice to see those students blossom in their new role. I do want to mention one other thing with the college campus. One of the highlights each year of that program is that the peer mentors lead the new students on a tour of campus with their schedules, their academic schedules, so they'll know where the academic buildings are. 1 week before school starts, 1 week before the campus gets really, really crowded. So it really helps students to get their bearings and to get familiar. We also have been fortunate to have a residential life skills coach who works part-time to help follow up and check in on the college campus participants to find out how they're doing with their transition, not just to college, but residential living. Like some students never lived with like a roommate before. I'm one of 9 kids. When I went to college, I didn't mind having a roommate because it was still like less than what I had at the home, whatever. But the Res Skills Life Coach, they can meet the student in the student center, Barnes and Noble, to like answer any questions they have about doing laundry, finances, resources, what to do on campus. So it's a great opportunity that we have that role, and we do partner with housing with that too. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're real big on helping to empower students to join clubs and organizations, as is residential life and university housing. So Delta Alpha Pi is an honor society for students with disabilities that have a certain GPA. That's what's neat about that honor society is part of their mission is to help mentor new college students with disabilities. So many of the members of Delta Alpha Pi have worked as a peer mentor and a coach as well. So they are working with new students with disabilities. There's an American Sign Language Club on campus, if you don't know that. I mentioned earlier that we help students start a college diabetes network, and that's been a very active group that does a lot of outreach on campus, but also in the community with the juvenile Diabetes Network, which has college students with diabetes speaking with elementary, high school students who eventually will attend college one day. So knowing from a college student how to best manage their diabetes once they go to college. And one other point about this too, which is for all students, not just students with disabilities. Many students, when they start college, they might be transitioning from pediatric medical care to adult medical care. So like using like the student health center, the wellness center, that might be new to them. And I know Ava's major, like in her like master's program, that there are a lot of like resources for students. So even if they're not used to advocating for themselves regarding student health, exercise, wellness, like many schools have programs that help promote that. The Neurodiversity Club, that's one of my favorites. So that's been around for about 2-3 years. And that's open to all students. So a student wouldn't have to be neurodivergent to be a part of that club. So they've done lots of things over the years. I remember the year before the pandemic, one of the things that the Neurodiversity Club hosted before finals, they partnered with the planetarium, and they did a Guitar Hero and a garage band at the planetarium. They kind of took it over. So it's a great way to de-stress before finals. The newest group is the Vinyl Music Appreciation Club. So we meet virtually every 2 weeks, and it's just faculty, staff, whoever wants to attend, people that love music, that love vinyl music, but also anyone can join. They don't need a turntable, and then we just sit around for 1 hour. Like we play music, we tell stories, but it's a great opportunity. So if you're interested, let me know. Next slide, please. So coaching, I do want to mention that the way that coaching works, it's a program where the coach meets with a student once a week for an hour to help them manage time, stay on track, access resources. I like to explain coaching in the following way, that it's once a week for an hour. It's not to add more on a student's plate. It's more so to help them manage what's on their plate. Some students do it for one semester. Some students do it ongoing, but it is definitely worth looking into. Housing has the Residential Hall Association, which is a wonderful opportunity for students who live on campus to get involved, to dip their toe into an organization that has a lot of programming opportunities for leadership as well. And then there's the rec center, the student centers. So there's a lot of clubs. So one of our former deans of students, Richard Jones, used to tell parents at the accepted students reception that if your student contacts you once they transition to college to tell you that there's nothing to do, that they're lying. There's a lot of intramural clubs, student clubs, run after hours, student programs. Next slide, please. So we felt it's important to bring this up because we know for students with disabilities, many students, their parents still have an active role with their transition into college. I personally think that's a good thing. There's what's called the FERPA. Our office, we're fortunate that we can utilize a consent for release form that the student's okay with us reaching out to their parents when we've got questions, concerns. We don't abuse that privilege. We don't want the parents to, but it's a safety net, whatever, because the students might need their parent to let us know that there have been some issues. Maybe their medication changed. Maybe they lost a grandparent where the student wouldn't necessarily volunteer that information with us. Next slide, please. So our office, we've been doing a college prep transition conference for like 5 years. With the pandemic, we transitioned that online to transition nights, virtual. And part of our presentation is to let parents know of college-bound high school students with disability that their primary role as a student transitions to college is to teach your student to be the squeaky wheel. You know, that the student has to learn to advocate for themselves. We can help with the coaching and other resources mentioned, but we do want it to be, you know, that the parents know that once students in college, they're on the team still, but many times the parent and disability resources, we're like the cheerleaders on the sidelines, you know, just like all the student affairs staff are, housing, rec center, student center, the different like managers. We're cheerleaders for the students because we want them to be successful in and outside the classroom and to become engaged and to feel comfortable asking for help. Many students without disabilities, when they go to college, it's still very hard for them to ask for help. And we want students to know that there's an expectation in college that you ask for help. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Ava.
Thank you, John. So on that note of including your parent in your college experience, it can also be extremely helpful to consent to allow other departments to help you out as well. And similar to how John was explaining with parents that the information is not overshared and that a privilege is not abused, but it can be very helpful to consent to share that some information about what's going on with you and your accommodations with other departments, such as the tutoring center or the advising center. It could be very helpful for them to know what is going on in the classroom with you. Housing as well, receiving housing accommodations can dramatically improve your experience. Also, the wellness center and counseling and psychological services. These are fantastic resources that are each able to help the student in a different way. And so if you are interested in sharing your information with them, it can improve the help that they're able to give you very much so. And it's okay to ask for help. We want you to ask for help and we encourage that. And so there are many different avenues of where you can go for help and just to get an extra boost of what you're looking for. So there's mentoring services. Some of them are offered through honors. There's BLAST mentoring. There's also psychology mentoring, and many other academic departments have mentor programs in place where students in that academic department can receive another student who maybe is a junior or senior and has been in the department for a while and understands some of the challenges of those classes to mentor you and help you out on the academic side. There's also the PATH program for neurodivergent students. There's success coaching, as John had mentioned, and the writing center for tutoring. So in addition to the tutoring center, there's also the writing center, which is specific to any English classes or different writing assignments that you might encounter in different subjects. Additionally, residential staff is a huge resource. I serve as a resident director. The resident assistants work more directly with the students who are living in the halls. And so the RAs, the RDs, the area coordinators are all great resources for students who need extra support. And so these staff members are trained to be able to help you with whatever you need, or if they themselves cannot help you, they'll definitely be more than happy to connect you to the resources that you need. And so I would encourage you, if you have unique needs or concerns, to meet with one of the housing staff members, reach out and see how they're able to help you, because I can assure you they'll be more than happy to. And struggle that can come up is, who are you going to live with? And so you want to live with somebody who is supportive or who shares your interests. And so some students seek out a specific roommate. Maybe you know someone who's coming to Rowan that you would be happy to live with. You can request to live with them. If you don't know someone, there's lots of other ways that students meet people to room with. And so roommate mixers are actually something new that we tried this year. It's a great way for students to meet other students who are looking for a roommate, and you get the chance to talk and see what common interests you have. If your lifestyles match up, that's also a big aspect of choosing who to live with. You want someone maybe who has a similar schedule to you. Maybe you both wake up early, or you both like to keep your space super clean. Those are all maybe details that seem smaller, but are really important to the residential experience. There's also some students who will join their class Facebook page. And so if you're going to be a part of the class of 2024, maybe you join the Facebook page that's for the class of 2024. And I know lots of students meet roommates that way as well. They might post something in the page. Hi, I'm looking for a roommate. This is my name and some of my interests and maybe how I live. And so that's also a really nice option. On the other hand, you can also choose to be randomly assigned a roommate. And I'd recommend in that case going in with an open mind, keeping an open line of communication, and also taking advantage of the roommate agreement. And so a roommate agreement is when your RA will come in, they'll do basically an agreement between you and whoever else lives in your space. And it'll be about how you like to keep your space, when you guys like to be quiet, what times you like to study, and how you like the conditions to be when you're studying or doing those other things. It'll be about having guests, all of the details really that come with living residentially. And so filling that out and being open to communicating when you're filling that out and advocating for yourself in that moment is something that can really give you much success living residentially. Some challenges that residential students face and how they overcome them. These are very common issues that I see students facing. And so when you come in at first, it might be hard to have a routine or a schedule. As John had mentioned, the transition from high school to college is extremely different. The schedules are not similar at all. And while you can create your own schedule in college, it might be hard to find a routine that works for you. And so to help this, I'd say the first step is to recognize that you need a routine and then write out one in a planner that is realistic for you. And so look at what you have been doing and what you think are realistic changes that you'll be able to make. And the school provides a Rowan planner for the year. And so you can use that Rowan planner to plan out a rough drift of what you would like your routine to look like when you're working towards it. Another is lack of sleep. A lot of students coming in have more freedom now. They stay up later, maybe playing video games, watching TV, and just enjoying that time. But it can lead to a lack of sleep, especially if you're going to bed late and you have early morning classes. And so I would say to set a goal for when you would like to sleep and also set an alarm for when you want to wake up. So 8 hours is a great starting point, and getting that healthy amount of sleep will help you to function better throughout the day and be more alert. Also, some students have a difficulty studying, so find a quiet place to study. Every building has lounge spaces, and while those were closed this year due to the state COVID restrictions, there's other places still that students could study that were quiet places, such as the library. You can go onto the library website and rent out a room in the library that you can have just to yourself for whatever block of time you rent it out for. Or set quiet hours with your roommate. And so that's something that you could talk about in your roommate agreement. If there's an hour or two each day that you would like to keep the room quiet for you both to study, that's something you could always explore. Skipping class is also another large issue. I know it can be tempting for new students to skip class, or maybe you're experiencing that lack of sleep and you sleep through class because it was an early morning class. And so I would say to plan ahead to get enough sleep and also complete your work ahead of time. So I know that some students, when they skip class, will skip because they didn't complete the work that's due for that class period. And that is a real challenge. So you want to make sure that you're staying on top of your classwork, penciling it into your routine in the planner, and also just being prepared to go with that good amount of sleep. And finally, the lack of physical activity. I know that Some students will come and feel like maybe they're studying so many hours a day that they're not being as active as they were able to be in high school, or they're playing more video games now. Whatever the case may be, Rowan has the rec center, they have the fitness center. So the rec center is located in the main campus, like near the student center. And then the fitness center is located right beyond Rowan Boulevard. These places both have group classes, which are a great option for students who want to maybe start being more active but don't know where to start with a workout routine, or even just for going for a walk around campus. There's a lot of beautiful sights to see around campus, and so that can be a great option as well. It's also really important to set up your room for success. And so a lot of people don't realize that the environment around them has a big impact on their mental health and how they function on the day to day. And so I recommend to have a designated study space in your room. You don't want to study in your bed because your brain will start to associate studying and sleep because you sleep in your bed, and so your brain associates the bed with sleep. So you don't want it to associate that time where you're trying to study with sleep as well. So keep a clean desk, have a clean environment, and having that designated study space can really make all the difference. Also, hang up a calendar so that you can keep track of maybe any events you want to attend on campus, any classes you have, just anything you have going on, big assignments or exams that you want to start working towards completing or studying for. Take out the trash in your room so that it doesn't begin to attract bugs or it doesn't smell. That taking out the trash on a regular basis will really keep the room clean, and it will help the environment to feel much more welcoming to you. And also open the windows from time to time. Opening them even for just an hour and getting some fresh air in can really improve how you're feeling. Another great thing to do to get involved on campus and to improve your residential experience is to attend the RA programs. And so every RA on campus puts on a number of programs each semester, at least one a month. And so these are a great way to get involved. You can attend the programs that your RA is having or the programs that another RA is having anywhere across campus. And so Rowan ProfLink is a great way to find these programs that are being put on not only by your RA, but other RAs across campus. A lot of these programs will also offer prizes and food or other incentives, which are a great thing. You know, you can go and have food and meet new friends is awesome. And it also allows you to meet new people. And so if you go to an RA program from another community or another building, or even on other floors of the building that you live in, it's a great way to branch out and meet new people. Also, the RAs put these programs on for you as a residential student. And so if there's something that you identify that you think would be really fun and you would really like to do, feel free to share that idea with your RA. I'm sure they would be happy to hear it, especially if it's something you and a couple other residents are like, wow, we would really like to play Mario Kart or play this other game or do something. Definitely share that idea with your RA. Don't be afraid to try different things, new approaches, and different involvements. Just get involved. The college experience is not one size fits all. And so, what was successful for someone you may know or have seen may not be what will make you successful, but there definitely is a path where you can be successful. And so, explore the different routines and study habits and identify which ones work for you and then stick to those. Also, get involved in as many clubs and activities as you can at first. It doesn't hurt if you have 5 that you're interested in trying at first, and maybe you go to the first meeting, meet the people, see what they're about, and then you can join the ones that really fit what you're looking for and you feel like you click with those individuals. Also, try to get involved with other students in your major. Getting connected with others in the same academic program as you, it's a great way to form study groups, and it's also a great way where you can identify what of your friends in that major also have to take the same class, and maybe you take a section together and enjoy that time as well. And so that can be something that makes you look forward to going to class too. And finally, John and I both would encourage you to continue to advocate for yourself. At the end of the day, you truly are the person who knows how your experience is going and what it might need or be lacking. And so I would really encourage you to be able to reach out to housing, reach out to Academic Success Center, and share what you feel like you're missing and what you need, because you are your biggest advocate.
Thanks, Ava. Yeah, the last thing that any of us want a student to do is to struggle and have nobody know it. Again, and so that's also why sometimes with our office, we're fortunate that a parent might alert us as to what's going on, so we can follow up with the student that's not letting us know. Also, I did want to mention that some of the resources like the coaching program, tutoring, other things, they're not just for students registered with disability resources. So any student can utilize those resources. And we do realize that there's probably hundreds of students on this campus who choose not to register for disability resources for like whatever reason, and we respect that, but we want any student that is struggling, that needs resources, whether classroom accommodations, housing accommodation, even temporary accommodations, to know that there is a resource, there's a process, we keep it confidential. And I'll mention one thing about the pandemic, and then we'll open up for questions. So with the pandemic, we had many meetings with students, parents, and faculty and departments to help students that were struggling to get the resources that they need, even if they weren't registered with our office. We oftentimes do what's called provisional accommodations for students. So if a student's outreach to us or referral to us from the dean of students, one of the different departments, an academic referral, based on the student's self-report, we would want to get their support resources in place, even if we're like waiting on like a letter from a doctor. So a student that had an accident, like a sports injury, an accident, we're not going to not start the accommodations until we have that letter in hand. We want to help students right then and there. So just to let you know, and the final thing I'll say is if you know a student who has a disability, hidden disability, depression, anxiety, that doesn't think that they're eligible for accommodations, have them contact me because they are. There's still a lot of stigma with the word disability, depression, anxiety. A lot of people don't think that that's a disability, but it is. It's actually larger than the population of students with physical disabilities. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you, Ava, for this idea for this presentation.
Yes, thank you, John. And we would be happy to take any questions if anybody has some. All right, that's all right. If nobody has any, you can also feel free to reach out to us if a question comes up later, and we would be happy to help you out in that way as well. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Ava and John. Appreciate it again. I'm going to put a couple links in the chat right now to the schedule for the rest of the sessions today, and then also just to the Rowan Thrive website in case you want to check out any of the resources there. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you.